Sky Island.
In the top right corner of the map, we have, hailing from Korea and Texas, it is CM Storm Polt. And in the bottom left, his opponent, his nemesis from the round of 32. Tied at 2-2, game 4, it is Liquid TaeJa. All right, this is the first time I think I've seen Coral Sky or Sky Island like all of WCS America Green Tour. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I can't think of a single map.
Most people veto it. Most people don't let it be in the rotation. It is a little bit tricky if you spawn at 11-5 instead of 1-7 like this. But now we kind of have 1-7, which is a little bit more of the norm because if you got the opposite spawns, you have 2 openings instead of 1 to kind of protect.
That's right. And there's a lot of things that you can prepare for maps like this if you do spawn top left to bottom right. But of course, as you said, not going to happen. Look at this, going command center first. Finally, the first deviation, the major deviation
CC first
in this early game. TaeJa is the one trying to take the economic advantage. Over on the other side, we do have a regular barracks into refinery. This is a delayed refinery, I do believe.
You know, in a certain way, a command center first, TaeJa did scout around his natural for any proxy back barracks. As you never know, proxy marauder is very popular sometimes if you think your opponent's playing really greedy. And now TaeJa has been revealed as the scouting SCV sees everything that he needs. Polt will start drilling away at that supply depot. Now TaeJa, he's going to scout and see pretty much everything he expects at the same time. Just sees a Marine. Says, at least I know my opponent isn't going CC first, so I have to be a little bit more careful than what I normally can get away with.
Yeah, and I love that you said that. I mean, this Marine, it might seem like, hey, that's not really a lot, but it's the fact that it's not a Reaper. It's not something like nothing. You know, there could be nothing there, and all of a sudden you walk in, maybe the barracks aren't working or something like that. Then you're really wondering, what the heck could my opponent be up to? That should give you the trigger. But for now, things are seen. He knows exactly what the range is.
All right, so now we do see that Polt is going to go for a reactor rather than a quick factory. He could opt to, again, slow play this and get a quick command center. Oh, in fact, he already has started it. And then just add the factory a little bit quicker than what TaeJa would be able to get to, considering that TaeJa now will start very soon. And then we kind of resume into position where, well, TaeJa did start the command center earlier, and you will have that extra mule and maybe more SCVs. But will he be able to mine for more patches relative to Polt? And that depends a little bit on how Polt's going to be able to use his tech advantage.
I don't think it'll really come into that much of an effect, to be honest. Just the fact that you make SCVs so slow, and of course you're taking a lot of the gases very fast. TBT relies a lot on that tech. You shouldn't really be able to optimally saturate one of your bases all that soon. So that's why I don't think it'll come into effect that much. But third commands are going down here, right?
I like this response. Yes, Andre, I'm seeing the same things you're seeing. Third command center on the way from Polt, so he's going to respond by playing even more greedy. And if TaeJa catches wind of this, guess what he'll do?
Four command center.
He'll drop a third command center, maybe a fourth.
Sick. For now, both these players going to the same area as well, teching all the way over to Starport. Of course, TaeJa, we can see, is going to that Banshee, most likely, just based on the position. But it could just be awkward positions. Polt hasn't motioned that he wants to take his tech lab, though, so it's probably going to be like either Vikings or Medivacs. I would say Medivacs are the most common things that you'll see, just to have a little bit of that aggression. But both players just playing a very economic focus, trying to, I would say, economize their opponents. Is that a word?
Make more money?
Yeah, make more money.
Sounds good to me, Polt. And now the SCV still hasn't gotten any information, but sees Hellions early on. And we haven't seen too much early Hellion play other than Marine Hellion drops, a la something like Maru versus Innovation. But they're still very potent early game if you can use them to control the map, especially on one as expansive as Coral Sky Island. On the mini-map, it doesn't look that big, but when you're moving and traversing across it, it just feels huge with everything going on. So I usually don't really favor mech kind of play styles, but I mean, to each his own. I don't. We've seen TaeJa play mech before on big maps as well.
Third command center is spotted out here. And, you know, it's still very open. It could be that the mech that you were just saying, or it could just be like regular stuff and Hellions are being placed out on the map. Just to have that difference in, I would say, harass. Both these players, wow, really surprising. Like, they've showed Banshee so much, and then this game, it's like they have a gentleman's agreement saying, hey, we're not going to go Banshee this time, all right?
There's not that much airspace to kind of wiggle around. It feels
That's
a little
true.
bit like Neoplanet S-ish, where there's not much wiggle room to kind of finagle your way or between bases.
Okay.
You like that vocab, on?
Yes, finagle.
I read that on the SAT card when I was like 16. I used it like 5 times in my SAT essay. I did not get a very good score.
I didn't even have to take the essays and essays.
You took the ACT because you were above the SAT.
No, I'm old school, man. I was at the 1600 score.
Oh, that's right. I'm new school. I was 2400. Polt, very smart guy. He probably got 2400 on his SATs. And he is going to go for a mine drop, but no real opening. Again, it's a little difficult to kind of get your way into the base. Maybe can trap this Viking in an awkward situation. And does manage to snipe the Viking. Very nice. Those are small things that matter.
Yeah.
And if you can continue to shut down and get like good trades and shut down your opponent, this third command center will pay off huge dividends because TaeJa's just finishing his.
And look at that harvester difference already. 54 to 46, that third command center just being so cost efficient there. Now Hellions going to be working onto a depot. Really surprising that we don't have any big reactions just yet. But a Viking will fly over, maybe land. Yes, it will. And the Hellions behind? Nope. They're not going to get any connections.
One does end up falling. TaeJa has 3 Hellions chasing. You don't see this kind of micro all the time in TVT, but it is pretty neat because the AoE from the Hellions are in a straight line. Regardless, Polt is now also powering up on a lot of barracks, and he's going to start his upgrades in tandem with each other, while TaeJa has been doing it for a long time. So something that has been going in TaeJa's favor is able to get up a stronger quality of army, while Polt will have to go for raw quantity with how much economy he has.
And I almost feel like quantity is a lot better in this position. Remember, you were saying how open and big of a map this is. You know, having that mobility, having the sheer material to work with is going to be so much better because, yes, you have a lot more siege tanks, let's say. You have a lot more, you know, just quality units. But if you can't get them into the right positions and your opponent is in the wrong positions, then it's completely useless to actually have them.
Oh, man. I think TaeJa tried to stem one Marine to scout and maybe even pick up the Widow Mine, but doesn't know about it. And now we'll take a big shot. The Marauder drops. Now the Hellions might be able to clean up. That almost was a big 1-2 for Polt. And, well, he does manage to clean up some of the units as well, which is, again, a very good job by Polt to just pick off what he can here and there.
Wow. Catching up into the SCV count, too. If you want to mention that, 62 to 61. Some really, really cute micro, but I almost feel like it's so negligible for Odan just because, like, the army value over here relative to their economy is so tiny that it's cute just to have stuff on the map, but it doesn't really constitute too much into their actual strength.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a threshold in TVT where you don't want too many workers. You do have a lot of orbitals. You start adding more command centers rather than trying to get the 70, 80 harvester count. So mid-60s is a good point to have. It's just that Polt's hit 60 much earlier than his opponent, and that kind of equates to a small little army advantage. Right now, he has about 70 supply compared to the 50 of his opponent. But TaeJa does have 2-2 started earlier. So if TaeJa can kind of use that little window of opportunity, he even has vehicular weapons on the way, and Polt does not. So I do feel like TaeJa does have some room if he wants to play around with the certain advantage he has and can overwhelm Polt in that regard.
Yeah, it's just really interesting. But what we've seen so far, especially on Akalon Waste, is as soon as one of these players have given up some sort of map control, they know how to buy themselves time. A lot of times you say, like, oh, yeah, you just have the better army, just push and win the game. But both of these players say to themselves, well, I'm going to punish you if you try to do something like I'm going to punish you by doing this harassment, doing this surround, or doing this this drop, whatever it might be. It's really, really effective. And you can see already, even though there's a quality advantage for TaeJa right now, and as you said, he has the ability to just crush Polt. The positioning of Polt is just so much better to buy him a lot of time.
Polt's going to try to siege outside of the natural. Do you like this little position that Polt takes? You don't really often see this kind of approach. Usually it's more from the open area where you can kind of divide the natural and the third base, but instead taking the northern angle. And Polt immediately kind of says, nah, I don't really like that angle. I'm just going to rearrange. I agree. I didn't really like that spot either too much, to be honest.
But I like the fact that Polt is sharking around, making it very uncomfortable for TaeJa to actually position all of his army, because let's say he was still positioned all the way over in the top left-hand corner. This push right now that Polt is doing is going to be so much more effective because it just takes a lot longer for his opponent to get into a right position. Here we go. The Siege tanks are getting into a nice place.
Yes, very nice pick off there. Polt might be able to take off some of these Marines, and they're engaging a little bit earlier than they needed to. Polt does manage to win that skirmish and might be able to focus down this bunker, which he does, and if he picks off the center tower, that'll also limit the amount of vision. Oh, Polt is going to go for it.
Oh my gosh.
Big stim and try to take out as many siege tanks as he can. Polt, is he going to be able to break through? Did TaeJa let down his guard just for a second, and he might pay the ultimate price. SCVs are being pulled, and now the USA champs have begun because TaeJa might have missed his opportunity to go to the grand final.
I think he did, Frodo, and that was such a gigantic advantage over for Polt.
The end is near.
Everything.